Hey, how you doing? Okay, so this week we're going to talk about how to employ our understanding of where pain and suffering comes from with how to improve our everyday lives, including the lives of those around us, specifically our kids, our family members, and those we love. Go. Hey, welcome to the I Am Podcast, where we answer all the questions about spirituality and inner peace that you ever wanted to ask. I am your host, Sean Webb. Okay, so over the last few weeks, we've been talking about how science is catching up and proving our cutting-edge, bleeding-edge model of where pain and suffering comes from, where the catalysis of our negative emotions comes from, how it's processed within our minds, and how all that stuff comes in to ruin our inner peace or delay our inner peace and create the ups and downs of life that we don't necessarily have to experience if we understand our minds, take control of our minds, and use our knowledge to create a plasticity that creates a lower level of stress and a higher level of inner peace. So if you have watched the Body, Mind, Spirit 101, awesome. If you haven't, go back and watch it. It's at imspirituality.com, and you just sign up there. You get email every few days, and it gives you the next video with some homework. Basically, science has now proven out that this is how emotions work. This is how pain and suffering comes into being. We have a number of attachments that become an extension of our sense of self. And so all of our emotions, all of our motivations to take action in life are based on self. They're based on what we perceive as us, our me. And so, of course, that includes our body, the thing that we see when we look in the mirror. But then we also start to make other attachments of mind, cognitive attachments that become an extended sense of self. Our ideas of being a boy or a girl, our name, the things that we associate with our identity, our family members, our friends that surround us, the things that we own, our ideas of politics, religion, etc., including short-term attachments that we make about, oh gosh, it would be great if I had to have an awesome day today, or I expect my team, my favorite sports team, to win this game today. And then we get upset when those things don't occur because, again, our equation of emotion is our expectation or preference about our attachments as compared to our perception. When these things balance out, we get happy emotions. When these things don't balance out, we get negative emotions. When we don't have one or the other, like we don't care about something, something happens, we don't have an emotion about it, or we do care about something and something hasn't happened to interact with it, we don't have an emotion about it. This is how our pain and suffering works in life. And when we can meditate and do the disciplines that create the plasticity to lower our stress levels, that can reduce that. But also then understanding this whole process of how our pain and suffering comes into existence and being able to break that process, that reduces our pain and suffering and our stress levels, etc., exponentially, which then becomes an additive to the disciplines that we have about taking a walk outside or doing some meditation or deep breathing exercises or whatever it is to change our plasticity. So both of these become a 1-2 knockout punch when it comes to stress and things that can create havoc in our lives. All right, so yesterday, getting back to the practicality, I'm picking up my son from daycare, from his preschool. And he's telling me on the way out about a disagreement that he had with his friend. We'll call him Archie. So he and Archie had a disagreement, and it basically stemmed from this. Archie wanted to stay and play with the toys, and Declan wanted to come home and play with his toys and have Archie come with him because they're friends. And so without having the ability to make this decision on their own, or no car keys, enabled to no capability to enact their plan, they somehow fell into a disagreement that one child wanted to stay and play and one child wanted to go home and play. And they started to have an argument about what they wanted to do. Now, right away, boom, attachment map. One child makes an attachment to the idea that he wants to stay and play. The other child makes an attachment that he wants to come home and play. And now they're starting a conflict, which is defending their attachment. If you go back to episodes 7 and 8, you'll understand how all conflict in the world comes to be based on our attachments to political systems, our attachments to monetary systems, our attachments to religious organizations or religious fundamentals, whatever it is. This is how war starts. This is how all conflict in the world starts, is that someone has an attachment to one thing, another person has an attachment to another thing, or groups of people have an attachment to one thing, and groups of people have an attachment to another thing, and they start to defend those attachments. Okay? So now, we have two toddlers starting to defend their attachments. And so this escalates. One of them says, well, you're on fire. Pause. They said you're on fire because they're both into fire trucks, and there's this application on the iPad where fire is the bad thing, and all the fire trucks race out and put out all the fires and save all the people and yada, yada, yada. So fire is a bad thing. And so in a 3-year-old's mind, saying you're on fire is a huge insult at this point in their lives. And so I think, I don't know who said it first, but one of them said, well, you're on fire, and the other one said, well, you're on fire. Okay, now what is that? Okay, so if you remember in episode 7 or 8, we're talking about the attachments, and you have two ways of winning an argument or winning a conflict. One is by proving your attachment is better, or by devaluing the other person and their attachments. And so if you can look at a person as a whole, their whole attachment map, and you can say, you suck, that means all your attachments suck. You and all your stuff that you're attached to sucks. And because you suck, that means I'm better than you and I win the argument. Now, this gets escalated when we're talking about dropping bombs or firing missiles to remove these people altogether, proving our superiority or our power. That's a fool's errand of this same process exponentially expanded. So basically, you have a 3-year-old that's now saying, well, you suck, you're on fire. And now the other 3-year-old saying, well, no, I don't suck, you suck, you're on fire. And so then they push each other a couple times, they get in trouble, and they go off and put in time out, I think, for using their hands. So we had a discussion about not using our hands in conflict, except in defense. And so right away, what is this model showing us? Well, it's showing us an exceptional understanding of what's going on inside these 3-year-olds' minds. If you want to understand your kids better than you ever have before, go back and listen to the Body, Mind, Spirit 101 and apply it to everything that your kids do. They have an attachment map that they identify as themselves subconsciously. It's not a conscious thing. It's a subconscious thing. They have all these things that they're attached to, but they become a portion of themselves. And at the point that they have an augmented self, including their ideas of wanting to go home or wanting to stay and play, they need to defend those things, because that is the evolutionary portion of our brain and our mind. The brain is there to help us prolong our survival, and it's there to help us defend self. Well, normally, in 1,000 years ago, self is everything within the confines of our skin and our body, and that's great for, defending our existence, because it prolongs our survival. But when we're talking about first world problems, when we're talking about first world issues and cognitive attachments of self, then we're talking about that same circuitry, that same subconscious circuitry, starting to defend all of this cognitive self. And that's why we get upset when people say our ideas suck, or they want to, our favorite sports team loses the Super Bowl or whatever it is. That's why it causes negative emotion, because these cognitive attachments get processed by the same subconscious brain process that is designed to defend self. The self in our first world simply gets expanded, okay, into the ideas of self. And so it's the same process. So now, understanding this process, I immediately deflect the argument and the memory of the argument to say, I know that his friend Archie is an attachment that he has. They're very good friends. Okay, so I know that Archie is close inside of his attachment map. His body is in there. His ideas of mommy and daddy and those attachments. His schedule. As long as that's not disrupted, then we can keep him on an even keel pretty well. Things like obviously physiological input like hunger and thirst and sleep and things like that all make up his sense of self. And so this idea that he had about staying or going home or whatever it was is farther out on his attachment map than his friend Archie is, which is very, very close. They're very good friends. So I simply pointed out the fact that they were very good friends and that it was okay. I told him it was okay that they had disagreements about this or that, and that happens with friends, but that they could get over those attachments, that they could get over those disagreements, and then they could still be friends. And that made him feel much better about the situation that he had with his friend. And he wanted to call and apologize and say that he loved his friend and yada, yada, yada. That's what that brought out in him. I know my son's attachment map. So I'm using now his attachments to let him release the other attachments. And this isn't like, some special, this is like science. This is, when you're talking about attachments and how close they are to the center and how close they are to your sense of self, this is natural stuff. Your body is going to want to naturally defend the things that are closer to the center of your attachment map. Like when you're standing next to a pool is a good example that we used before, and you have your toddler next to you, and you have all your electronics, your phone, your wallet, your whatever, maybe something that's irreplaceable on a table next to you on the other side. A big gust of wind comes and is blowing both of them into the pool. So instinctively, you're going to reach down and grab the thing that you're more attached to. I'm going to grab the toddler. Screw the whatever's going into the pool on the other side. I can replace all that stuff, or maybe even if I can, if I'm going to lose pictures or whatever, I would rather not risk losing the toddler to drowning or, hitting his head or whatever it is that could come of harm to him. I'd rather, ensure that doesn't happen rather than losing whatever it is over here on this side that's about to be blown into the pool and lost forever. Okay, so that's simple science. It is simply defending and wanting to be more attached to the things that are closer to you in the middle, and you can release these things on the outside. So I use this science with my toddler quite frequently. For instance, he'll put himself into timeout simply to have a few moments to reflect and to calm down. It's the weirdest thing, but it's the most awesome thing because he likes timeout. He goes and puts himself in timeout, or he'll tell us that he's going to go put himself in timeout. He'll spend a couple minutes, and then when he's ready, he'll come back out and he'll join us and he'll be awesome. And it's like it's his little break of his own meditation. It's his little break of, I'm going to stop my mind of doing whatever it is that it's doing, and I'm going to, take some breaths, and I'm going to just chill. Now, there's good and bad news about that, because the bad news is that he loves time out now because he sees the benefits of his own little meditative space. And so when we threaten him with time out on things that we need him to do, like eat his dinner or, get ready for bed or brush his teeth or whatever it is, he's ready for it. He's like, yeah, let's go to timeout. So it's not a real motivator to get him to do the things that he needs to do. So one of the other things that he's very attached to inside of his inner circle here are the cars, the Matchbox cars, the Hot Wheels cars that he has, which are his security blanket, really. He has to have a car when he goes to bed. He loves playing with his cars every day. He has to take a different car with him to and from daycare. He loves cars. So when we have an issue of him wanting to push back or wanting to not do the things that he needs to do, I don't threaten timeout. I don't threaten that. I offer that maybe we need to take some cars away, and put them in a box. And I did this once. I took, he hit me in defiance, in anger. And so immediately I went in and all of his cars came off of his shelves, went in a box, and went away for 24 hours. That put the fear of God in him. Now, why did that happen? Because his cars are very close, very near and dear to his heart, very near the center of his attachment map. And when Daddy came in and took away and threatened the things that he is attached to the most, that really got his attention. That allows him to release whatever defiance or whatever position that he has out here that he's trying to defend, at the point that you can understand what your toddler, or what's important to your even older kids, what's important to anyone in your family, not from maybe a threatening standpoint, but offering a more positive feedback. You can help those people release whatever it is that's inhibiting them. Like the other day, he started this process of, I think it was after a thunderstorm or whatever, not wanting to go to bed by himself. And he wants to have somebody lay on his floor. Okay, so now it's a positive reinforcement. Now if you can go to bed for 3 nights in a row, you're going to get a surprise that you're going to like on Thursday. And he is all about, get out of my room. He's all about, I want to lay down by myself. I want to get the surprise, whatever it is. And he knows this is probably going to be, car related. So now I'm using what I know about his attachments as a positive influence, and we're building a positive rapport on getting him to go into his bedroom and lie down by himself again. Didn't used to be a problem. Now it's a problem. Now he wants somebody to lay on his floor. But now I'm using the attachments within his mind that are important to him. This is what makes him unique upon the planet. I'm using his attachments to create a better relationship for us, create a more harmonious interaction between he and Whitney and I. And everyone's happier because of it. Is it manipulative? You bet. I am manipulating this boy. Tell me one parent that doesn't manipulate their child. I'm using the attachments that I know are important to him. And by the way, setting his expectations on things, telling him what we're going to do, where we're going to go, how things are going to go down, creates an immense amount of happiness in his life. Because if we set our expectations correctly and we hit our expectations correctly, he is happy, even if it's something that's not fully enjoyable to him. Buddy, we're going to be in the car for a really long time, 6 hours to go see Grandma and Grandpa. What child loves to sit in the car for 6 hours? Not very many that I know, but we set his expectation that we're going to be in the car a really long time. All of a sudden, we're in the car a really long time. We make sure that he has things to do. He can deal with it. He can deal with it. He hangs out. He understands that we're in this together. We talk. We play games. He plays with his iPad. But it's a happier experience than, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? That child has never once in his life said, are we there yet? Maybe it's coming. I don't know. Hasn't done it yet. Thank you. Okay, so when we're talking about this science of inner turmoil, when we're talking about this science of negative emotions, when we're talking about this science of understanding where our pain and suffering comes from, when you start to understand it to a high degree, you can start to use it to see how to better your life and to better the lives of those people around you. If you understand that negative emotions from people around you are coming because something on their attachment map is being attacked, or something on their attachment map is being devalued, or they feel that something is awry in this space, you can help yourself figure out what that might be, and help yourself figure out how to maybe pump them up a little bit, how to figure out what their attachment is, to help them value either their individual attachments or their entire sense of self, which will then increase their happiness, right? And what we're moving into here is the base of compassion. We're talking about being able to, and a base of empathy, right? Sympathy is feeling the pain of another. Sympathy, the Greek base of the word is to feel pain. And so when you're talking about being sympathetic to someone, you're talking about being able to feel their pain, which is not the place you want to be in. You want to be in the empathy space. You want to be in the space where you understand their pain, and that you help them with that pain by having a true understanding of the process that comes together to create it. And so at the point that you can understand someone's attachments, at the point that you can understand the process that their mind and brain is going through to create that negative emotion that they're feeling, then you can start to do a little bit of analysis to say, hey, how can I help pump this picture up for them? How can we increase the level of happiness a little bit before we can get them to Sean's podcast and tell them it's all an illusion and get them on the path to shedding this thing and increasing their levels of inner peace? You're talking about a true science of compassion, a true science of empathy there. You're talking about a true process to be able to come in and use this stuff in your life to create a greater happiness for those around you and to ease their pain by helping them figure out what it is that's causing their emotional turmoil. So anyway, I apologize for the rambling there, but I wanted to share a real-life anecdote with you of how we can use this science to improve the lives of our kids, improve the lives of our families, etc. So I hope this message finds you well. I hope you guys are having a great week. I put up donation buttons on the website, although I'm still doing a couple of details on PayPal, so don't go click them yet. But in the next few days, if you want to buy me coffee, lunch with beer, or you want to sponsor an episode, those buttons are now available. Hopefully in the next few days, we'll have all the kinks worked out with the PayPal process to say, hey, show a little love for Sean for all the love that he shows you. It's not a reciprocal. I'd do it no matter what. But if you would like to show some love, help pay for bandwidth or whatever, I would certainly appreciate it. Love you guys. Hope you guys are having a great week. Of course, you can also pick up your free book at audible.com by going to our link, audibletrial.com/IamSpirituality. They have over 100,000 books. The authors read them to you themselves, which is awesome. I mean, where could you go to get that done? And or professional voice talent if their voice sucks, which sometimes it does. I'd hate to listen to Stephen King, I hear. I haven't listened to one yet, but I hear he's not good on reading his own books. So there you go. Again, hope you guys are having a great week. I love you. Talk to you soon. Peace.